America decides as voters head to the polls in several states. Key races on the ballot include the New Jersey and Virginia races for governor and New York's mayoral race. The races could be an early test of how Americans feel about President Trump's second term. Now, polls show a tight race in New Jersey, where Democratic Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill is in a heated race with Republican Jack Ciattarelli, a former state lawmaker. In New York City, Democrat Zoran Mamdani is taking on former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who is running as an independent. The latest polling show Mamdani is holding a significant lead over Cuomo and Republican challenger Curtis Sliwa. In a CBS News 60 Minutes interview, President Trump was asked what he would do if Mamdani becomes mayor of New York.
It's going to be hard for me as the president to give a lot of money to New York, because if you have a communist running New York, all you're doing is wasting the money you're sending there. So I don't know that he's won, and I'm not a fan of Cuomo one way or the other, but if it's going to be between a bad Democrat and a communist, I'm going to pick the bad Democrat all the time, to be honest with you.
I want to bring in CBS News political director Finn Gomez, who's live in Washington for us today. Finn, good to see you on 24/7. Why are these regional races now in the national spotlight?
Yeah, just to your earlier point, Muga, is that, the big day is upon us, or just about, tomorrow, all the voters go to the polls on these big contests. And one major reason is what you said about this is the first electoral test since last year's big presidential election. So it's the first time that both parties get to see what essentially works on messaging, on the get out the vote operations. And they take those, they sort of read the tea leaves and take it for the next big electoral test, which is the midterms. But in New Jersey, Democrats are working to hold on to the governor's mansion as polls tighten in this final stretch of the heated race between Mikey Sherrill and Jack Ciattarelli. The contest is centered on key issues, as you mentioned, of affordability, rising energy prices, among others. Sherrill, who's a former Navy pilot and congresswoman, has leaned into her bio, her centrist record, and her anti-Trump message, while Ciattarelli has cast himself as the candidate of change after narrowly losing 4 years ago to Phil Murphy. The outcome will serve as an early test of whether Democrats can maintain their advantage in a state where they outnumber Republicans, and this is important, by more than 850 registered voters. But senior Republicans close to the White House tell CBS that they believe Ciattarelli can pull off an upset win in the Garden State, building on President Trump's gains last year in this blue state. Even though Trump lost, he lost to Harris by about 5 to 6 points. Did very well for a Republican, but Democratic heavyweights like former President Obama and Senators Cory Booker and Ruben Gallego hit the trail this weekend for Sherrill. In New York, we are seeing this is also a big matchup, as you cited. It's a bitter three-way battle between Mamdani, between Cuomo, and Curtis Sliwa. And again, the major issue is on affordability, but also what we're all seeing is Mamdani, the 34-year-old Democratic socialist frontrunner, running as a Democrat, has energized progressive and younger voters on issues of affordability, but he's also facing criticism over past comments about Israel that have sparked accusations about anti-Semitism from his opponents, an issue that loomed large in recent debates. And Cuomo, the ex-Democratic governor running as independent, has seized on those controversies to argue for a centrist and experienced leadership, while also carrying political baggage from those scandals that ended his tenure in Albany recently. But recent polls show Mamdani leading by double digits. But speaking to Republicans about this race, several told me they plan to use Mamdani in the lead up to the midterms as a Democrat who represents the party as a whole, and they feel they'll have some political advantage as in these very heated elections that are coming up just a year from now. Muga.
Yeah. And Finn, as we look ahead to the 2026 midterm elections, there is new bipartisan polling of registered Latino voters, the second largest voting bloc in the U.S. So what is on their minds about the issues and President Trump?
Yeah, this is a really interesting poll, Mugo. A sweeping new survey of 3,000 registered Latinos by Unidos, which is the largest Latino civil rights organization in the country. It's over across 6 states, and economic anxiety continues to dominate the political mood heading into the 2026 midterms, with cost of living, jobs, and housing far outpacing other issues as top priorities for the nation's second largest voting bloc. In this new survey, immigration, while still important to this increasingly swing electorate, is not the top issue, but 5th behind these other economic issues. But according to this poll, first obtained by CBS News, 53% of Latinos cite the cost of living and inflation as their leading concern, followed by jobs, the economies, and other economic issues. But more than 1/3 say the economy is worse than it was a year ago, while just 14% believe it has improved. Pocketbook issues, concerns dominate nearly every measure of voter sentiment. Nearly 2/3 of Latino voters surveyed say President Trump and congressional Republicans are not doing enough to improve the economy, a 5-point increase since April. And half of the respondents believe Mr. Trump's economic policies will then make them personally worse off next year. For the president, the results mark a sharp contrast with his 2024 performance among Hispanic voters. If you remember, they were a big part of his 2024 coalition. But again, one note from this poll also is the majority of those who supported both Trump and Harris in last year's election predominantly still would do so again this year. But it is given us, if you will, a somewhat of a significant map to this group that has become increasingly coveted by both parties for these electoral contests. Mugo.
Yeah, definitely. Fin Gomez, thank you so much for your time today.